Hi, my name is Emily Carter. I'm 22 years old, and I live in New York City, United States. I'm a university student studying business administration, and like many students in the US, English is not my first language. I was born in Mexico and moved here with my parents when I was 10 years old. Even though I've lived in the US for over a decade, I still struggled with speaking English fluently. I understand English. I can read, write, and listen well, but when it comes to speaking, I freeze. I know what I want to say in my mind, but the words don't come out smoothly. Sometimes I get nervous, and my pronunciation doesn't sound right. Other times, I feel like people don't understand me, and I lose confidence. I used to avoid conversations in English. I would only speak when necessary, and even then, I would keep my answers short. But one day, I realized that if I wanted to be successful in my career, make friends, and feel comfortable in this country, I needed to improve my spoken English. So, I made a plan and started practicing. Now, after a lot of effort, I speak confidently, and I want to share my journey with you. If you are struggling like I did, I hope my story helps you. My journey to speaking English fluently. When I started college, I was excited but also nervous. Most of my classmates spoke English fluently, and I felt like I was the only one who struggled. During group discussions, I stayed quiet, afraid of making mistakes. I felt embarrassed when someone asked me to repeat myself. One day, my professor asked me a question in front of the whole class. My heart started beating fast. I knew the answer, but my mind went blank. I managed to say something, but my words were slow and broken. After class, I felt frustrated. I told myself, Emily, you have to change this. You have to find a way to speak better. That night, I started researching ways to improve spoken English. I watched YouTube videos, read articles, and even asked my English professor for advice. I realized that improving English is not just about studying grammar. It's about practicing every day. Step 1. Speak every day, even if you make mistakes. The first change I made was speaking in English every day. No matter how bad I sounded, I forced myself to practice. I started by speaking to myself. Every morning, I would stand in front of the mirror and talk about my day. I would say, "Today I have a class at 10 a.m. After class, I will go to the library." At first, it felt strange. I made mistakes. My pronunciation wasn't perfect, but I kept going. Then I started speaking with my roommate, Sarah Johnson. She is American, and when I told her about my goal, she was happy to help. Every evening, we had small conversations in English. She corrected me when I made mistakes, but she never laughed at me. She always encouraged me. Sarah once told me, "Emily, don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's how you learn." And she was right. The more I spoke, the more comfortable I became. Step 2. Think in English. One of the biggest challenges for me was translating everything from Spanish to English in my mind before speaking. This made my speech slow and unnatural. I realized that if I wanted to speak fluently, I had to start thinking in English. I changed my habits. When I saw something, I described it in English. For example, if I saw a tree, I would think, "That is a tall tree with green leaves." When I was cooking, I would say in my mind, "I am cutting tomatoes and onions." This small habit made a huge difference. Thinking in English helped me respond faster in conversations. Instead of translating, I started forming sentences naturally. Step 3. Listening to native speakers. I also realized that to speak well, I needed to listen more. I started watching English TV shows, movies, and podcasts. At first, I used subtitles, but later, I challenged myself by turning them off. One of my favorite podcasts was The Daily by the New York Times. The host spoke clearly, and I learned new words and phrases. I also listened to interviews and conversations to understand how native speakers talked naturally. Listening helped me improve my pronunciation and intonation. I started copying how native speakers spoke. I would pause the video, repeat the sentence, and try to sound like them. Step 4. Expanding my vocabulary. I noticed that sometimes I couldn't express myself well because I didn't know enough words. So, I started learning new vocabulary every day. I made a notebook and wrote down 5 new words daily. But I didn't just write them, I used them in sentences. For example, if I learned the word enthusiastic, I would say, I'm enthusiastic about improving my English. Learning words in context made them easier to remember. I also used apps like Duolingo and Quizlet to review vocabulary. Step 5. Practicing with language exchange partners. Speaking with Sarah helped, but I wanted to practice with more people. So, I joined an online language exchange website called Tandem. I found native English speakers who wanted to learn Spanish, and we helped each other. I met a guy named Jake Thompson from California. He was learning Spanish, and I was learning English, so we had conversations in both languages. He corrected my mistakes, and I corrected his. It was fun, and I gained confidence. I also joined my university's English Conversation Club. Every week, students from different countries practiced English together. We talked about different topics, played games, and shared stories. Step 6. Reading aloud. To improve my pronunciation and fluency, I started reading aloud. Every night, I would read an article or a book chapter out loud. I focused on my pronunciation, intonation, and speed. I remember one day, I read an article about climate change, and when I finished, I felt so proud. My voice sounded more natural. This simple habit improved my speaking skills a lot. Step 7. Recording myself. One of my biggest fears was that my accent sounded strange. So, I started recording myself speaking. I would talk about my day, answer random questions, or describe a picture. Then, I listened to the recordings and compared them to native speakers. At first, I didn't like how I sounded, but over time, I noticed improvement. My speech became clearer and more confident. My results after 6 months. After 6 months of daily practice, I felt a huge difference. I no longer hesitated when speaking. I could hold conversations without feeling nervous. One day, in class, my professor asked me a question, and this time, I answered confidently. My classmates listened, and when I finished, my professor smiled and said, "Great answer, Emily." That moment made me realize how much I had improved. As I continued my journey of improving my English, I realized that learning a language is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about building confidence. The more I practiced, the more I believed in myself. But of course, there were still challenges along the way. Overcoming the fear of speaking in public. Even after I had improved a lot, I still felt nervous speaking in front of a large group. I could talk comfortably with my roommate Sarah or my language exchange partner Jake, but standing in front of my classmates and giving a presentation was still scary. One day, my professor assigned us a group project where we had to present our findings to the class. My group chose me to speak first. I wanted to refuse, but I knew this was an opportunity to challenge myself. I prepared for days. I practiced my speech in front of the mirror, recorded myself, and even asked Sarah to listen and give feedback. But the real challenge was speaking in front of my class. When the day came, I stood in front of everyone, holding my notes. My hands were shaking a little. I took a deep breath and reminded myself, "You have practiced. You can do this." I started speaking. At first, I was nervous, but as I continued, I gained confidence. I focused on my words, my pronunciation, and my message. When I finished, my classmates clapped and my professor nodded in approval. That moment changed everything for me. I realized that the fear was only in my mind. The more I put myself in uncomfortable situations, the more confident I became, using English in real-life situations. Another way I improved was by using English in real-life situations. Instead of avoiding conversations, I started interacting more with people. At the grocery store, I asked the cashier questions about prices and discounts. At restaurants, I ordered food confidently and even made small talk with the waiter. On the subway, I asked for directions when I needed help. One day, I met an elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson at a coffee shop. She smiled at me and said, "You look like a student. What are you studying?" For the first time, I didn't feel nervous. I smiled back and said, "I'm studying business administration at New York University." She continued the conversation, asking about my background and my plans for the future. We talked for almost 20 minutes, and at the end, she said, "Your English is really good. Keep practicing and you'll do great things." That small conversation made me realize that people are kind. They don't judge you for your mistakes. They appreciate your effort. The role of positive mindset and one of the biggest lessons I learned was that mindset is everything. In the beginning, I used to think, I can't speak English well. People will laugh at me. But once I changed my mindset to, I am improving every day, everything became easier. Instead of feeling embarrassed about my mistakes, I started seeing them as opportunities to learn. I stopped comparing myself to native speakers and focused on my own progress. Whenever I felt discouraged, I reminded myself of how far I had come. A job interview in English. After improving my English, I decided to apply for a part-time job at a local bookstore. The owner, Mr. Williams, told me, "We need someone who can communicate well with customers." I was nervous about the interview, but I prepared by practicing common interview questions. I stood in front of the mirror and answered, "Tell me about yourself. Why do you want this job? What are your strengths and weaknesses?" On the day of the interview, I walked into the bookstore feeling confident. Mr. Williams asked me about my experience, my studies, and my interest in books. I answered clearly, without hesitation. At the end of the interview, he smiled and said, "You speak English very well, Emily. We'd love to have you on our team." I got the job. It was a moment of victory. All my hard work had paid off. It has been a long journey, but every step I took to improve my English made me stronger, more confident, and more open to opportunities. Looking back, I realized that my struggles were not just about learning a language. They were about growing as a person, facing new challenges with confidence. After getting the part-time job at the bookstore, I found myself in a new challenge, talking to customers every day. At first, it was overwhelming. People spoke fast, used slang, and sometimes had different accents that I found difficult to understand. But instead of feeling discouraged, I reminded myself, I have come this far, I can keep improving. Whenever a customer spoke too fast, I politely said, "Could you repeat that, please?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Most people were understanding and repeated their words more clearly. One day, an elderly man came into the bookstore looking for a book on history. He started talking about World War II, and I had to listen carefully to understand. He noticed that I was paying attention, and he smiled. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked. I shook my head. "No, I'm from South Korea, but I've been studying in New York for the past 2 years." He nodded and said, "Your English is really good. Keep practicing, and you'll go far." Moments like these gave me confidence. I realized that people appreciate when you try, and they don't expect you to be perfect. The key is to communicate, not to speak without mistakes. Learning from every interaction, one of the best ways I improved was by observing and learning from real-life conversations. At work, I listened to how my coworkers spoke to customers. I noted their tone, common phrases, and expressions. I started using phrases like, "Let me check that for you," or "Would you like a recommendation?" just like they did. With my friends, I asked them to correct me when I made mistakes. At first, I felt shy, but then I realized that every correction helped me get better. On social media, I followed English-speaking influencers and watched their videos without subtitles to challenge myself. Every day was a new lesson, and I was always looking for opportunities to improve. The turning point: thinking in English. One of the biggest breakthroughs came when I started thinking in English instead of translating from Korean. Before, whenever I wanted to say something, I would think in Korean first, then translate it in my head, and finally speak. This took time and sometimes made my sentences sound unnatural. I realized that if I wanted to speak fluently, I had to train my brain to think in English. So I made small changes in my daily life. When I woke up, I described my morning in English. Okay, now I'm getting out of bed. I have to brush my teeth. While walking to school, I thought about my plans in English. Today, I need to study for my exam and buy groceries. At night, I reflected on my day in English. What was the best part of my day? What could I have done better? At first, it was difficult, but over time, it became natural. I started forming sentences faster and speaking more fluently. The first time someone thought I was fluent for evening, I was sitting in a cafe, reading a novel, when a tourist walked up to me and asked for directions. "Excuse me, do you know where the nearest subway station is?" Without hesitating, I smiled and said, "Yes, just walk 2 blocks straight, then turn left. You'll see the entrance right there." He thanked me and walked away. A few seconds later, I realized something. I had spoken without thinking. No hesitation, no translation, no second guessing. It was as if English had become a part of me. That was the moment I knew I had truly improved. Encouraging others to learn as I gained confidence, I started helping others who were struggling with English, just like I had. One of my classmates, Maria, was from Brazil and was having a hard time speaking in class discussions. I saw myself in her. I remembered how nervous I used to be, so I decided to help her. We started practicing together. We spoke in English as much as possible, corrected each other's mistakes, and gave each other confidence. A few months later, she gave a full presentation in class without any fear. When she finished, she looked at me and smiled. "You inspired me," she said. At that moment, I realized that my journey was not just about improving my own English. It was about helping others grow too. Even though I had reached a level of confidence in English that I never thought possible, my journey didn't stop there. Language learning is a lifelong process, and every day I still found new ways to improve and new challenges to overcome. Taking my English to the next level after mastering daily conversations and feeling comfortable in social and work settings, I wanted to challenge myself further. I knew that if I truly wanted to sound natural and express myself effortlessly, I needed to focus on 3 key areas: expanding my vocabulary, mastering natural expressions and idioms, improving my accent and pronunciation. Expanding my vocabulary. One thing I noticed was that even though I could hold conversations well, I often used the same words over and over again. I wanted to sound more expressive and natural, just like native speakers. To improve, I started reading more advanced books and articles. I chose books that had rich vocabulary and took note of new words. Using a vocabulary notebook. Whenever I learned a new word, I wrote it down, along with an example sentence. Learning words in context. Instead of just memorizing definitions, I tried to use new words in my daily conversations. For example, instead of saying, "That movie was very good," I started saying, "That movie was fascinating." Instead of, "I'm so tired," I said, "I'm exhausted." It made a huge difference. People started noticing that my English sounded more advanced and natural. Mastering natural expressions and idioms. One thing that makes English sound truly fluent is the use of idioms and expressions. Native speakers use them all the time, but as a non-native speaker, they weren't natural for me. So, I made it a goal to learn and use idioms every day. Some of my favorites were break the ice, to start a conversation in a friendly way; hit the books, to study hard; piece of cake, something very easy; under the weather, feeling sick. At first, it felt strange to use them, but I kept practicing. Soon, they became a natural part of my speech. One day, at work, my manager asked me, "Emily, are you ready for the busy weekend?" I smiled and said, "Of course. It'll be a piece of cake." He laughed and said, "Wow, you're really picking up native expressions." That moment made me realize how much I had grown. Improving my accent and pronunciation, even though my English was good, I still had a slight accent. I didn't mind having an accent, but I wanted to make sure I was speaking clearly so that people could understand me easily. I started practicing my pronunciation by listening and mimicking native speakers. I watched TED Talks and repeated what the speakers said, matching their tone and rhythm. Using tongue twisters, I practiced phrases like, "She sells seashells by the seashore," to improve my clarity. Focusing on difficult sounds. For example, the difference between ship and sheep, or walk and work. With time, my pronunciation became clearer, and people stopped asking me to repeat myself. It felt amazing. Preparing for my future in an English-speaking world. After gaining fluency, I started thinking about my future. I was studying business administration at New York University, and I knew that strong English skills would open doors for me. One of my biggest dreams was to work at a multinational company where English was required every day. To prepare, I joined networking events to practice professional conversations, took business English courses to learn formal writing and communication, practiced writing emails and reports to improve my professional English. One day, I saw a job posting for an internship at a big company in New York. I knew it was a huge opportunity, but I was nervous. Could I really work in a professional environment using English every day? I reminded myself of everything I had overcome. If I could go from being afraid to speak to confidently holding conversations, I could do this too. I applied for the job, and a week later, I got an email. "Dear Emily, we would like to invite you for an interview." I couldn't believe it. My first professional interview in English. The day of the interview arrived, and I dressed professionally, practiced my answers, and reminded myself to stay confident. The interviewer, Mr. Roberts, asked me questions like, "Tell me about yourself. Why do you want this internship? How do you handle challenges?" I answered smoothly, using clear English, professional vocabulary, and natural expressions. Even though I had reached a place where I could confidently speak, write, and understand English, I knew that learning never truly stops. Every language evolves, and the more you engage with it, the more you discover new ways to express yourself. Today, I want to share some powerful tips and tricks on how to learn English effectively. Many people struggle with English because they feel it's too hard, they don't have the right environment, or they don't know how to start. But trust me, learning English is not as difficult as you think. The key is to have the right approach. In this guide, I will take you through a deep dive into different techniques, real-life examples, and creative ways to make English learning fun and easy. Why learning English is important? Before we jump into the tips, let's understand why English is so important. English is the global language. It helps you communicate with people from different countries. Better job opportunities. Many companies prefer employees who can speak English fluently. Access to information. Most online content, books, and research papers are in English. Travel and social benefits. It makes traveling and making new friends easier. Boosts confidence. Speaking English fluently improves your self-esteem and social skills. Now that you know why learning English is beneficial, let's look at different techniques to master it. Tips and tricks to learn English. Different styles with examples. 1. The power of immersion. Surround yourself with English. If you want to learn English fast, you must surround yourself with it. This means listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English every day. Listen to English podcasts and songs. Example: if you love music, listen to English songs. Try to understand the lyrics and sing along. Songs like Perfect by Ed Sheeran or Someone Like You by Adele have clear and slow lyrics. Podcasts like the British Council Podcast or BBC Learning English are great for listening practice. Watch English movies and TV shows. Example: if you like watching movies, choose English movies with subtitles. Start with simple ones like Friends or Harry Potter, and repeat dialogues to practice pronunciation. Change your device language to English example. Change your phone, social media, and laptop language settings to English. This small step helps you get used to English words in daily life. Surround yourself with English speakers. Example: if you have friends who speak English, talk to them in English. Even if you make mistakes, don't be afraid. 2. Think in English. Stop translating in your head. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is translating sentences from their native language to English before speaking. This slows you down. How to start thinking in English. Example. When you wake up, describe your morning routine in English in your head. Instead of thinking, "Mujhe bhook lagi hai," Hindi. Immediately think, "I am hungry." While walking on the street, name everything in English. Car, bus, shop, tree, road, traffic light. Practice with a mirror. Self-talk technique. Example. Stand in front of a mirror and speak about your day. Example. Today, I went to the market. I bought some fruits. Then, I cooked dinner. 3. Use the 80-20 rule. Focus on common words and phrases. Did you know that only 20% of English words are used 80% of the time? This means if you learn the most commonly used words, you can understand most conversations. Learn commonly used words. First example, words like good, bad, happy, sad, want, need, go, come, eat, sleep, talk, see, hear, feel are used in almost every conversation. Practice common phrases and expressions. Example. Instead of just learning words, learn full sentences. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Can you help me? What do you do? 4. Read aloud and improve pronunciation. Many learners understand English, but struggle with speaking because they are not used to hearing their own voice in English. Read books, articles, or news aloud. Example. Pick up an article from BBC News, The Times of India, or any English newspaper, and read it loudly. This improves fluency and pronunciation. Record your voice and listen. Example. Read a paragraph and record yourself. Then listen and compare it with a native speaker. 5. Learn with fun. Play English games and use apps. Traditional studying can be boring. Make learning fun. Use English learning apps. Example. Apps like Duolingo, Hello English, Busuu, Memrise, Anki make learning interactive and enjoyable. Play word games. Example. Play games like Scrabble, word search, crossword puzzles, or 20 questions, where you guess a word based on clues. 6. Write every day. Start a daily English journal. Writing improves vocabulary and sentence structure. Write a short journal entry every day. Example. Write about your daily activities. Today, I woke up early and made tea. Then I went to work and had a meeting. Write social media posts in English. Example. Instead of writing Facebook or Instagram captions in your native language, write in English. 7. Find a speaking partner. Practice conversations. Daily speaking is the most important part of learning a language. Find a language partner. Example. Websites like Tandem, HelloTalk, and Speaky connect you with native English speakers for practice. Join English clubs or groups. Example. Join online communities like Reddit's R English Learning, Facebook English speaking groups, or Telegram English practice groups. 8. Learn with stories. Improve vocabulary and grammar naturally. Stories help you learn new words and understand sentence structures. Read short stories and novels. Example. Books like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho or Charlotte's Web by E.B. White are easy to understand. Listen to audiobooks. Example. Listen to The Little Prince or Alice in Wonderland while reading the text. 9. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Learn from them. Fear of making mistakes stops many learners from speaking. Mistakes are a part of learning. Example. Even native speakers make mistakes. Instead of feeling embarrassed, correct yourself and move on. Focus on communication, not perfection. Example. Instead of worrying about grammar, just try to express yourself. If you say, he go to school, people will still understand you. Later, you can correct it to, he goes to school. 10. Stay consistent. Make English a daily habit. Consistency is the key to fluency. Make a learning schedule. Example. 10 minutes of listening, podcasts, songs. 10 minutes of reading, news, books. 10 minutes of writing, journal, social media. 10 minutes of speaking, talking to someone, recording yourself. Set small, achievable goals. Example: I will learn 5 new words every day. Or, I will practice speaking for 15 minutes daily. Advanced strategies to master English. Faster. If you've already started learning English, but feel stuck or want to improve even faster, here are some advanced techniques that will take your English skills to the next level. 11. Learn English with the shadowing technique. The shadowing technique is a powerful way to improve pronunciation, fluency, and listening skills. It involves listening to native speakers and repeating what they say immediately, like an echo. How to do it? Step 1. Choose a short audio clip, podcasts, TED Talks, news reports, or audiobooks. Step 2. Play the clip and listen carefully. Step 3. Play it again, but this time, repeat the sentences at the same time as the speaker. Step 4. Focus on matching the rhythm, tone, and pronunciation. Example: use YouTube videos with subtitles. Watch BBC Learning English videos and repeat after the speaker. 12. Use mnemonics to remember new words. Sometimes remembering new vocabulary can be difficult. Mnemonics are memory tricks that help you remember words easily. How to use mnemonics. Associate words with images. If you want to remember the word gigantic, imagine a giant standing in front of you. Use funny sentences. For the word precipitation, which means rain, you can remember: precipitation is like the sky peeing. Break words into smaller parts. Embarrass. Embarrass. Imagine someone feeling embarrassed because their pants fell down. Example: if you're learning the word benevolent, kind, break it down like this: bean, good, plus volent, wishing, someone who wishes good things for others. 13. Learn grammar without studying too much. Many learners hate grammar because they think it's boring. But you don't need to memorize grammar rules to speak correctly. Instead, learn grammar naturally. How to learn grammar easily? Learn patterns instead of rules. Instead of studying past tense rules, just notice patterns like: yesterday, I went to the market. Last week, we visited our grandmother. Now you understand that past actions use went, visited, etc. Listen to native speakers and copy their sentence structures. What are you up to? Means, what are you doing? Let's catch up means, let's meet and talk. Example: instead of memorizing the rule, I have been learning English for 2 years. Just notice how native speakers use have been plus verbing for things happening over time. 14. Imitate native speakers. Copy their speaking style. If you want to sound more natural, copy how native speakers speak. This is called language mimicry. How to do it? Watch interviews, TED Talks, or movies and focus on how people speak. Copy their tone, pronunciation, and even pauses in their speech. Practice speaking with emotion. Don't just read words. Example: watch a clip of Emma Watson speaking in an interview. Pause after each sentence and repeat it exactly as she says it. Same speed, same tone. 15. Learn phrasal verbs and idioms for natural conversations. Native speakers use phrasal verbs like give up, look after, and idioms, break a leg, hit the books, all the time. If you want to sound more fluent, you must learn these. Common phrasal verbs: give up, stop doing something, I gave up smoking, look after, take care of, she looks after her little brother. Common idioms: break a leg, good luck, hit the books, study hard. Example: instead of saying, I started studying, say, I hit the books. 16. Use the Feynman technique to learn difficult concepts. The Feynman technique is a great way to truly understand difficult English grammar rules or concepts. It works like this. Steps to use the Feynman technique. Pick a difficult topic, like present perfect versus past simple. Try to explain it in the simplest way possible, as if teaching a 5-year-old. If you can't explain it simply, go back and learn it again. Example: instead of saying, the present perfect tense is used for actions that have happened at an unspecified time before now, explain it simply. I have eaten pizza before. We don't know exactly when, but it happened in the past. 17. Learn English with role-playing. Act like you're in a real situation. Role-playing helps you practice real-life conversations without stress. How to do it? Imagine you're in a situation, ordering food, job interview, meeting a friend. Write a small script and practice it out loud. Use different voices and emotions to make it more fun. Example, situation, ordering coffee, dialogue. Practice. Hi, I'd like a cappuccino, please. Sure. Would you like it hot or iced? Hot, please. Repeat this until it feels natural. 18. Learn English by writing stories and dialogues. Writing your own short stories and dialogues improves creativity, grammar, and sentence formation. How to start? Write a short story, 100 to 200 words, about anything, your day, a dream, or an imaginary adventure. Write dialogues between two characters and practice saying them out loud. Example. Story, start. John woke up late for work. He grabbed his bag, rushed out the door, and realized he had forgotten his keys inside. Now, add more sentences and build your story. 19. Learn English with YouTube and social media. Follow English-speaking YouTubers and influencers. YouTube channels. BBC Learning English Speak English. With Vanessa English Addict, with Mr. Steve Instagram and TikTok. Follow pages that post daily English tips and vocabulary. Example. Watch 5-minute YouTube videos every day and repeat the sentences. 20. Stay motivated. The key to long-term learning English takes time, so staying motivated is important. How to stay motivated? Set small goals. I will learn 10 new words this week. Track your progress. Keep a notebook of new words and phrases. Reward yourself. If you complete a goal, treat yourself to something nice. Stay positive. Enjoy the learning process. Example. Keep a success journal and write down every new thing you learn. Look back after 3 months and see how much you have improved. Your English learning journey, learning English, is not just about studying. It's about practicing every day. Use real-life situations, movies, books, and conversations to learn naturally. Stay consistent and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The most important thing? Enjoy the journey. Bonus tips for mastering English faster. Now that we've covered structured techniques, let's explore some extra tricks that can help you speed up your learning process while making it more fun and effective. 21. Change your phone and apps to English. One simple but powerful way to immerse yourself in English is by changing the language on your phone, apps, and computer to English. Why does this work? You see and use English daily, which helps you remember words naturally. You get used to common English phrases in technology, e.g., settings, notifications, battery saver. Example. Instead of seeing configuration, Spanish for settings, you will see settings in English. Over time, this will train your brain to think in English automatically. 22. Speak to yourself in English. Self-talk method. If you have no one to practice with, talk to yourself in English. It may sound silly, but it's one of the best ways to improve fluency. How to do it? When you wake up, say, "Good morning. Today I will go to work and then meet my friend." While cooking, say, "Now I'm chopping vegetables. Next, I will fry them." How to do it? When you wake up, say, "Good morning. Today I will go to work and then meet my friend." While cooking, say, "Now I am chopping vegetables. Next, I will fry them." Before bed, say, "Today was a good day. I learned 3 new English words." Example. If you don't know how to say something, look it up and try again. This helps you fill gaps in your vocabulary. 23. Read aloud every day. Reading aloud improves pronunciation, confidence, and fluency. How to do it? Pick a book, article, or story in English. Read each sentence slowly and clearly. Focus on pronouncing every word correctly. Example. Take an easy English story like The Little Prince and read it aloud for 5 minutes every day. 24. Learn English while sleeping. Passive learning. Your brain continues to process language even when you sleep. You can train your subconscious mind by listening to English while sleeping. How to do it? Find English sleep learning podcasts or audiobooks. Play them at a low volume while you sleep. Your brain will absorb words and phrases naturally. Example: search for English sleep learning on YouTube and play a recording overnight. You might wake up remembering new phrases. 25. Find an English-speaking friend online. Talking with native speakers is the fastest way to improve English. Where to find speaking partners? Language exchange apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, and Speaky. Join Facebook groups for English learners. Find a study buddy who also wants to practice English. Example: use HelloTalk to chat with native speakers. They correct your mistakes, and you help them with your language. 26. Sing English songs and learn lyrics. Music helps improve pronunciation, rhythm, and vocabulary. How to do it? Choose a song with clear lyrics, e.g., Someone Like You by Adele. Read the lyrics and understand their meaning. Sing along and match the pronunciation. Example: try singing Perfect by Ed Sheeran and focus on how words connect naturally in English. 27th. Use flashcards to memorize vocabulary. Faster, flashcards help you learn and review words quickly. How to do it? Use apps like Anki, Quizlet, or Memrise to create digital flashcards. Write the English word on one side and its meaning, plus an example sentence on the other. Review your flashcards daily for 5 minutes. Example: for the word ambitious, your flashcard could say, front, ambitious back. She is ambitious because she wants to be a doctor. 28th. Watch English stand-up comedy and improve listening skills. Stand-up comedy is great for learning real-life English expressions and humor. How to do it? Watch comedians like Trevor Noah, Kevin Hart, or Ellen DeGeneres. Pause and repeat funny phrases to practice pronunciation. Learn how native speakers joke and use expressions. Example: watch a Trevor Noah clip and note down 3 new phrases you learn. 29th. Join online English challenges. Joining a challenge keeps you consistent and motivated. Examples of English challenges: Checkmark 30-day speaking challenge. Speak in English for 5 minutes every day. Vocabulary challenge. Learn 5 new words daily for 1 month. Writing challenge. Write a 100-word journal entry every day. Example: post on Instagram or Facebook. I am doing a 30-day English speaking challenge. Join me. 30. Travel or live in an English-speaking country. The fastest way to learn English is to immerse yourself completely. How to do it? Visit an English-speaking country even for a short trip. Stay with a host family to practice English daily. Work or volunteer in an English-speaking environment. Example: if you can't travel, create an English environment at home. Watch only English shows, read English books, and speak in English as much as possible. You're already equipped with 30 powerful tips to help you learn English effectively. But learning never stops. Let's go even deeper with advanced strategies, common mistakes to avoid, and a real-life success story to inspire you. Advanced English learning strategies. Now that you've covered the basics, let's talk about how to push yourself further. These advanced strategies will take you from an intermediate learner to a fluent speaker. 31st. Train your brain to think in English. One of the biggest challenges for learners is that they translate from their native language before speaking. This slows down fluency. Instead, train your brain to think directly in English. How to do it? Start small. Name objects around you in English, e.g., table, chair, window. Describe your day in English, internally or out loud. Ask yourself questions in English and answer them. Example: instead of thinking in your native language and translating, try thinking like this. Tengo hambre. Voy a comer algo. Spanish: I am hungry. I will eat something. English: I am hungry. I should grab a snack. 32. Master the art of shadowing. Best pronunciation trick. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say, as quickly and accurately as possible. This helps you improve pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. How to do it? Choose an English podcast, TED Talk, or news report. Listen to one sentence and repeat it immediately. Try to match the speaker's tone and speed. Example: listen to a BBC News clip and repeat after the reporter. Your goal is to sound exactly like them. 33. Learn to use English idioms and phrasal verbs. Native speakers use idioms and phrasal verbs all the time. If you want to sound natural, you must learn them. Common idioms: break a leg, good luck. E.g., you have an exam, break a leg. Hit the books, study hard. E.g., I have a test tomorrow, so I need to hit the books. Piece of cake, something easy. E.g., that exam was a piece of cake. Common phrasal verbs: give up, quit. E.g., don't give up on your dreams. Look up to, admire. E.g., I look up to my teacher. Run into, meet unexpectedly. E.g., I ran into my old friend yesterday. Example: instead of saying studying is easy for me, say studying is a piece of cake. It sounds more natural. 34. Learn English by teaching it. The best way to master a language is to teach it to someone else. How to do it? Find a friend or family member who wants to learn English. Explain basic English grammar to them. Try to correct their mistakes. This helps you learn too. Example: if your friend doesn't know the past tense, explain go, went. I go to school. I went to school. Eat, ate. I eat pizza. I ate pizza. By teaching others, you will understand English deeply. 35. Join a public speaking group. Boost your confidence. One of the best ways to become fluent is to practice speaking in front of people. How to do it? Join Toastmasters, a global public speaking club. Practice giving short speeches in English. Learn to speak confidently without hesitation. Example: prepare a 2-minute speech about your favorite hobby and deliver it to your friends or online groups. Common mistakes to avoid. Even advanced learners make mistakes. Here are some of the most common ones and how to fix them. Mistake 1. Using the wrong prepositions. Wrong: I am married with John. Correct: I am married to John. Wrong: I am interested for English. Correct: I am interested in English. Mistake 2. Forgetting the S in third person, singular. Wrong: he go to school every day. Correct: he goes to school every day. Mistake 3. Translating directly from your native language. Wrong: I have 25 years old. Spanish: Tengo 25 años. Correct: I am 25 years old. Real-life success. Story: Alex's journey to fluency. Let's meet Alex, a student who struggled to learn English, but transformed his life using the methods in this guide. Alex's problem: he knew grammar but couldn't speak fluently. He was afraid of making mistakes. He didn't have anyone to practice with. What Alex did? He started talking to himself in English every morning. He joined an online English challenge to speak daily. He used the shadowing method to improve pronunciation. He changed his phone, movies, and music to English only. The result? After 6 months, Alex could speak confidently, without hesitation. Hold conversations with native speakers. Use idioms and phrasal verbs naturally. Now, Alex works in an international company where English is required. Final challenge for you. Are you ready to take your English to the next level? Step 1. Pick 3 tips from this guide that you will start using today. Step 2. Set a goal, e.g., I will speak English for 10 minutes every day. Step 3. Track your progress and don't give up. Building deeper connections through English. One of the greatest rewards of improving my English was the ability to connect with more people. Before, I felt like I was living in my own little bubble, only talking to people from my home country or those who understood my struggles. But now, a whole new world had opened up. I could make friends from different cultures, understand jokes and references that once confused me, and even help others who were just beginning their own English learning journeys. One of my best friends, Sophie, was from France. She was also studying in New York, and we bonded over our shared experience of learning English as a second language. "I used to be so nervous to speak in class," she told me one day over coffee. "Me too," I laughed. "But now look at us, having a deep conversation in English." She smiled. "It's amazing how language brings people together." And she was right. Because of English, I wasn't just improving my skills. I was building relationships, experiencing new perspectives, and growing as a person. Helping others learn English. Since I knew how hard it was to learn English, I started helping others who were struggling. I became a tutor at my university, offering conversation practice to international students. One of my students, Luis from Mexico, reminded me of myself when I first arrived in the US. He was hesitant to speak, always afraid of making mistakes. "I feel like people will laugh at me," he admitted one day. I shook my head. "Nobody cares if you make mistakes. In fact, people respect you for trying." I encouraged him to practice every day, just like I had. Slowly, he started gaining confidence. One day, he came to our session with a big smile. "I spoke to my professor in English today," he said proudly, "and he understood me." That moment made me realize something important. Language is about communication, not perfection. If you can express yourself and people understand you, that's what truly matters. Stepping out of my comfort zone. Even though I had improved a lot, I knew I had to keep challenging myself. So, I decided to do something I never thought I would do: join a public speaking club. At first, the idea terrified me. Speaking English in daily conversations was one thing, but standing in front of an audience and giving a speech? That felt impossible. But I pushed myself to do it. At my first meeting, I was so nervous that my hands were shaking. When it was my turn to speak, I introduced myself and shared my journey of learning English. To my surprise, everyone clapped and cheered for me. "You have an inspiring story," one of the members told me. "Keep going, you're doing great." That experience gave me so much confidence. I realized that the only way to grow is to step out of your comfort zone. A new dream. Becoming a language coach. Because I loved helping others learn English, I started thinking, what if I could turn this into a career? I began researching and found that many people work as language coaches, helping non-native speakers improve their English for work, travel, or daily life. The idea excited me. I had already gone through the struggle of learning English, so I knew exactly how to help others. I started a small YouTube channel where I shared tips for learning English. I made videos about pronunciation, vocabulary, and confidence-building exercises. To my surprise, people from all over the world started watching and commenting. "Thank you! Your tips are really helpful. I feel more confident speaking English now. You inspired me to keep learning." Every comment motivated me to keep going. Looking back at my journey, when I think about where I started, struggling to order coffee, feeling lost in conversations, afraid to speak, I realize how much I've grown. Learning English was not just about mastering a language. It was about gaining confidence, building connections with people, challenging myself and growing as a person, discovering new opportunities. If someone had told me years ago that I would be teaching others English, speaking in public, and even starting a YouTube channel, I wouldn't have believed them. But here I am. And if I can do it, so can you. Believe in yourself. If you're learning English and feeling discouraged, remember, you don't need to be perfect. Just keep practicing. Mistakes are part of the process. Every mistake helps you improve. Surround yourself with English every day. Listen, speak, read, and write. Find people to practice with and support each other. Step out of your comfort zone. That's where real growth happens. Most importantly, believe in yourself. An unexpected opportunity. Just when I thought my English journey had reached a stable point, something unexpected happened. Something that would change my life forever. One day, while checking my emails, I saw a message with the subject line, Exciting Opportunity, International Conference Invitation. Curious, I clicked on it. Dear Emily, we came across your YouTube channel and were truly impressed by your journey of learning English. Your dedication and unique approach to language learning inspire many people worldwide. We would love to invite you as a guest speaker at the Global Language Learners Summit in Los Angeles. Would you be interested in sharing your story on stage? Looking forward to your response. Best regards, Linda Carter, Event Coordinator. I stared at my screen, my heart pounding. A conference? In Los Angeles? As a guest speaker? At first, I thought it was a mistake. Why would they invite me? I wasn't a professional teacher. I was just someone who had struggled with English and shared my experiences online. But then, I remembered something. I had once been too afraid to speak at all. Now, people were inviting me to speak in front of an audience. This was my chance to inspire others. I took a deep breath and replied, Thank you for this amazing opportunity. I would love to participate. The big day. Speaking in front of hundreds.